Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our virtual public meeting. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. We want to give people a little bit more time to log on. It's 6:30 now, so let's shoot to begin at 6:33. Thanks. All right, well, it's 6:33, and it looks like we're leveling out for a number of attendees, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to begin by just thanking everyone for being here this evening. I know we all have a lot going on in our lives right now, possibly more than ever before, so it really means a lot that you've chosen to take some time out of your evening to come here and be a part of what we think is a pretty important conversation about Burlington's future, so thanks. Um, my name is Jared Patton. I'm an associate planner at the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, and I'm the project manager of the Burlington Comprehensive Plan. I'm joined tonight by two of my colleagues, Stephen Ostrander and Dustin Cagliari, and we are going to be walking you through some slides that we've put together explaining what this project is, but we really want to spend a lot of time hearing from you as well. With that, I want to start with a few quick, excuse me, trying to figure out the slides here. We're going to start with some housekeeping items here. First and foremost, this session is being recorded. We know there are a lot of people who couldn't be here this evening, and we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to participate. So once we finish this session, we're going to upload it to our website, and we ask that you please share that with anyone who's interested. Secondly, you should know that right now all participants are muted, but we will be changing that later on. So we want to hear from as many people as possible, but to try to minimize background noise during the presentation phase, everyone will be muted. When the time comes to change that, you will click the unmute button in your control panel, and that's the box that should be on the right side of your screen. It looks a bit like the one in my slide right now. So the button that you see that has a circle with a microphone, that's the button you click. Right now it should be red, which says you're muted and we can't hear you, and then it will change to green when you click it, which says we can hear you. Another part of the control panel that you should be aware of is the questions tab. I might say questions/chat. That's where you're going to ask questions during the presentation or make comments, anything that you think is relevant. If you type that up, my colleague Stephen will take a look and either respond to you directly or interrupt me and let everyone know so we can all hear the answer. The final point I want to make is that this is our first time doing a virtual meeting like this, so we're still figuring out. It's going to be a little clunky. It's going to be a little weird. I ask that you just bear with us, and we'll all get through it together. So thanks for that. And to kick things off, I'm actually going to take a step back and pass the microphone to your village president, Bob Walsh, for a few words of welcome.
Thank you very much, Jared. Welcome everyone to this great opportunity with CMAP. As maybe you may or may not know, that is our CMAP, or our comprehensive plan, is about 15 years old. So this opportunity to see where the residents and businesses would like to go in the future with the Village of Burlington, this is the opportunity. It's that roadmap that we would follow. Obviously, in 15 years, a lot of things have changed, and now we have to reorganize, and it brings a lot of different perspectives to play. So this is a grant what was we were very fortunate to achieve, and we're grateful that it's here. So without it, it's difficult to move ahead in the future for any development, if there is or if there isn't. But that's a lot of what this is based on. So it's important that this is this comprehensive plan is something that the village needs at this time. So with that, I hand that back to Jared, and I thank everybody for who's in attendance, and hopefully this will, our next meetings, there'll be far more people. Not that we're disappointed. Glad that you're attending. Jared?
Forgot to unmute myself. Still figuring it all out. Thanks for that, Bob. So this next slide speaks to what we'll be talking about today. So I'm going to give a quick introduction, let you know who CMAP is, because we know we're not the most popular agency. And then I'm going to spend most of the time talking about the project itself. So I'll let you know about the background, what will be included in the project, give you an update on some of the work we've done so far, and let you know how you can be involved moving forward. And then, of course, at the end, we're going to try to have as much discussion as possible. This is a stand-in for an in-person meeting. In that format, we typically be doing less talking and more listening. We want to make sure that you still have an opportunity to tell us what's important to you. That said, before I get into that, I actually have some questions for you. So I'm going to ask Dustin to please bring up our questions. We can't see you. We don't have an in-person meeting happening, so we want to try to learn a little bit more about you so we can try to tailor this to what's relevant. So in a moment, you're going to see a question pop up on your screen, and you should just be able to click an answer to that. So bear with us as we figure this out. All right, here we go. So our first question is, what is your relationship to Burlington? Let us know if you live in Burlington, if you work in Burlington, if you have friends or family in Burlington, or if you visit businesses or institutions, whether it's the post office or Mott's, if you come to Burlington for some purpose, or if you have another or no relationship. And it looks like it hasn't actually started yet, so we need to launch that. Oh, there we go. Looks like we are getting responses. So I'll give you a couple minutes, a couple moments to fill that out. All right, we can go ahead and close that poll and share the results. All right, so it looks like most of the people on the call today live in Burlington. There's some others in there as well. That's actually the biggest part. So I'd be curious if some of the people who put other want to go ahead and let us know in the question box or in the chat box what that is. We can talk about it later. After this, we actually have another question for you, and this one is specific to the people who live in Burlington. I'm curious to know how long you've been in Burlington. Are you a new resident? Have you been around for a little while? So if you want to fill this out, I'll give you a couple moments. All right, we'll just give a few more seconds. All right, I think that's everyone who's going to vote. So if you can close that poll and share the results. So it looks like everyone has been here for more than 11 years. That is not typical. So that's super interesting. 2/3, 11 to 20 years, and a third, more than 20 years. All right, and we have one more question. And this one is going to bring the attention on us. I'm curious to know, oh, this is the first question. This is the part where we're all still figuring it out. So thanks for bearing with us.
Jared?
Yeah.
Jared, this
Yeah.
is Stephen. We might want to do that first vote over again, just because I think it's possible that some of our staff members who are attendees might have voted that they're not from Burlington. Do you think that's possible? So maybe we should just.
The two questions aren't dependent. I think it's okay to move forward.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's fine. Do you want to bring up the third question, Dustin?
So apologies. The third question is which one?
Sorry, the third question is if people know who CMAP is.
Okay, so that is not in the poll.
Okay, all right, no worries.
So,
sorry about that, everyone.
sorry about that.
All right, so I will answer the question then and let you know who CMAP is. So the short answer to that is that CMAP is the regional planning agency for the 7 counties of northeastern Illinois. We are a government agency, and our primary purposes are land use and transportation planning. On the transportation side, our big role is that whenever the federal government spends money on a transportation project, whether it's a highway or bridge or a transit expansion, that money first comes to us, and then we program it out to the sub-regional agencies that hire the engineers and the contractors that make the project happen. Of course, you can't look at a transportation system without thinking about the communities and the people that the system serves. So we also do a lot of complementing land use work. So we do zoning codes and corridor studies and economic development studies and comprehensive plans like the one that we're talking about tonight. The final note I have on this screen is that we do regional coordination. We have a very large and very diverse region with 284 municipalities, and they're not always talking to each other. We know that our region is best when we're working together, so CMAP tries to fill that role and to help connect our partners to each other. And that is something that we will also be doing through this project. Now, because we're a big agency and we're a planning agency, we have a plan not just for the region, but for ourselves as well. Every 4 years, we update our region's comprehensive plan. Our current plan was adopted in October of 2018, and it's called On to 2050. That plan is a tremendous resource. It's all online, and if you're interested in anything related to cities and regions, I encourage you to go to the website. There's a ton of data and information and resources about pretty much everything cities do, whether it's natural resources, transportation, or economic development. The one point that I want to make about this project, though, is the one reason that it's relevant to this project is the 3 principles included in the plan. And those are principles that influence all of the work that CMAP does. Those are inclusive growth, prioritize investment, and resilience. And I want to highlight and emphasize that CMAP is not creating a plan for Burlington. We are helping Burlington produce a plan for itself. So we're not going to tell you what to do. We don't have a set agenda. We don't know what the final result is going to be. But we will push you to address these things because we know they're best practices in all planning and they're good for the region. So that is what we're doing is we know you're getting a high quality plan and it will address these in some way. And that's one of the reasons that we're helping now. So enough about us. Let's talk about the project. That's what you're actually here to learn about. So this project has its roots in the 2018 call for project that CMAP released. This is part of our local technical assistance program. It's a lot like a grant, except instead of money, we provide technical assistance to help communities do projects that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do. We received an application from Burlington to update the comprehensive plan. It was one of 74 proposals that we received, and ultimately was one of just 14 that were accepted. So it's a competitive process, but we are really impressed by the application. And we thought there was a lot of possibilities for us to work here. We thought that Burlington had a lot of strengths to build on. It was a really great community. And it was also facing some challenges that other parts of the region either are facing or will be facing in the future. So this is an opportunity for us to come in and help a community that has a lot to grow on and raise it up as a model for something that other regions can aspire to, or other parts in the region can aspire to be. This is an 18-month project, so we're going to be here at least through next summer. So we're still in the early stages of the project and we'll be around for a while. Sorry, I'm moving to the next slide here. All right, so you might be asking yourself, what is a comprehensive plan? It's a little jargony. In the simplest sense, a comprehensive plan is a general broad planning document that outlines a vision for the community and then identifies steps for getting there. And you do that through a couple ways. First, there's a ton of research that goes into it. It's comprehensive. We look at everything from the economy to transportation, natural resources, governance, all kinds of things. And while we're doing that, we also do a lot of outreach, and we listen to residents, and we take our research and share that with residents, and we hear about what's important to them and how they want to address the challenges that we identify and how they want to take advantage of the opportunities we find. There's a lot of iteration and back and forth. And then ultimately, you come up with strategies for achieving that vision and addressing the challenges. And I really want to highlight that these strategies are, while general and broad, they're also incredibly detailed. So this slide has a very small chart on it. I don't expect you to read that. I certainly can't, but I include it just to show what these recommendations will include. So on the left of this chart, you see the strategy, the recommendation. After that, you have the partners. So we see who is the person who needs to implement this strategy. And then you say what the first steps are, like how do you begin actually implementing this strategy? And then on the right, we look at potential funding streams because we know that we're not rich and we need to be able to find ways to pay for the things we're recommending. So don't pay attention to the actual strategies. This is taken from another plan, but it's just a way of identifying the sort of things that will be in a plan, or rather the level of detail that will be in the plan. So in addition to those recommendations, we'll also have a really comprehensive existing conditions analysis. We'll summarize all of the outreach that we do, and we'll have a general statement about the vision and goals of the community. So now that you know what a plan is or have an idea, it's important to say, why should you create a comprehensive plan? And the first point is one of the reasons that I love, and that is just that it's good governance. People don't always have a ton of opportunities to get involved with their community. They can't always make it to a village board meeting or go to speak to their county or state representatives. And this is an opportunity for residents to have a say in what happens in their community. And not just for the next issue or the next challenge, but further down the road to think about how they want their community to look in 20 or 30 years. And it also is a way for them to weigh in on projects that they might not normally get a chance to weigh in on, because it sends a message to public and private entities about the types of projects the community would like to see. That can be positive, where a community says they want to have something, whether it's a new development, a certain type of business, or a new park, or it can be negative in the sense that a community can say they don't want to see something. They don't want to see Main Street turned into an interstate highway, or they don't want to see a large development next door. This is an opportunity to do that before a specific project is proposed. It's a way to weigh in on what you want your future to be. It also allows for long-term thinking, which is really important for municipal staff in particular. Our governments are often stretched thin, and you're so busy with your day-to-day work that it can be hard to take a step back and think about what the end result of all these actions will be. And this plan provides an opportunity to do that. And finally, it can attract funding for future projects. If you're trying to apply for a grant, it's really powerful to be able to say it's in your comprehensive plan. You've done the research, you know you need this. You've done the work to do the outreach, and people have said they need it. It's not just your pet project, it's something that the community needs, and you can show that. It's really powerful to be able to defend an application with a comprehensive plan. So what's the planning process? I mentioned that there's a ton of research. We've already started that process. I've also mentioned that there's a lot of outreach, but I haven't actually said what that is. So first, we're going to do online and over the phone meetings. We've already started that in some way. That's what this meeting is about. I've also been having over the phone conversations with residents and business owners and people involved with municipal government. We're not done yet, but we've started. We're also going to do in-person workshops, which is what you can see in the bottom right corner. I know that doesn't seem like it's going to happen tomorrow, and it won't, but this is a long-term project, and you can't do this work entirely virtually. So we will be in the community, and we will be having these interactive sessions. Also, we'll be creating a steering committee. The steering committee is a group of about 10 to 12 residents, business owners, community leaders, church leaders, people who've just been around town for a while who really care about the community. And that's the group that we will be accountable to first and foremost. So that group will meet quarterly, more or less, and we will provide all of our deliverables to them. They will be our bosses, basically. They'll tell us what to do. We haven't built that committee yet, and that's one of the things we hope to get to tonight. After this conversation, you'll receive a couple questions in an email, and one of those will be an opportunity for you to nominate someone to be on that committee. We don't know who those people are. You know your community better than we do, so we ask for your help with that. We'll also produce a draft plan before the project is finalized, and we'll send that to the steering committee. We'll post that on the internet. We'll try to get it to as many people as possible, and we'll listen to what you say, and we'll take your comments to heart, and we'll revise the plan. Because a perfect plan that doesn't have community support is perfectly useless. We'd rather have a plan that's not super polished, but has a lot of support, because that's the document that's going to produce real results. And then finally, and in many ways, most importantly, implementation. We're not a consulting business. We're not going anywhere. We are a government agency. We work for you, and we'll be here for the long haul. So once this plan is released, our work doesn't stop. We will look forward to being partners with you for decades to come and helping to implement the plan however we can, whether that's connecting you to some of our partners or providing additional analysis as we move forward. But we're not going anywhere. So we have a fourth question. Hopefully this one works. Can you see that, Dustin? Perfect, this is it. So what are the most important things for this plan to accomplish from your perspective? We ask that you pick 2 questions. You can pick 3 or 4, it won't stop you, but it would be great to really think about what the most important things you want to see out of this plan are. So the options are to establish a vision for Burlington's future, to say what the city or the village should look like in 30 years. Should it have a ton of development? Should it be more pedestrian focused or car focused? Really what the design should be. Should it increase community engagement? Should we really try to bring in as many people as possible to the planning process? Should we try to rebrand the village to attract new residences and businesses? Should we build relationships between the village and other governments, whether that's at the county or township level or other municipalities? Or should we connect businesses and people together? Or should we really focus on improving financial resilience, both through economic development and through better planning for municipal resources, things like that? And of course, I should mention, we will do all of these things. It can just be helpful to get a sense for the room and see what you're most interested in. We'll give just a few more seconds for this. All right, so we can go ahead and wrap it up in just 3, 2, 1. All right, go ahead and close that, Dustin, and see what the results are. All right, so it looks pretty clear. People are interested in rebranding the village and coming up with that identity and establishing a vision for the future. So that's pretty clear. All right, and we can go back to the presentation now. All right, so I mentioned we've already started some of this work. We'd be remiss if we did not share with you what we've heard. So a little bit more about what we've done. I mentioned we've already started the existing conditions research. So we've been looking at census data, some economic development data, looking at land use. We've reviewed a lot of existing plans, both from the village and from the county and other agencies that are active in the area. And we've also started our outreach. So so far, I've had hour-long conversations with 14 residents, municipal staff, people working for the county and other agencies to really get a feel for what's important to the community. And again, I want to highlight that's not done yet. We want to talk to more people. We know it's not enough just to talk to 14 folks. So that's what we've done, but this is what we've heard. So time and time again, we've heard people say that Burlington is a small town with a really strong identity. That's important. It's not just another community that gets lost in the sprawl of Chicagoland. It means something to be in Burlington. The village also has a cohesive development pattern. People can walk to the post office, they can walk to Mott's, they can go to Village Hall, they know their neighbors, and people don't want to lose that. And finally, the community is quiet, familiar, and supportive. Neighbors know each other, they talk to each other, they care about each other, and that's one thing people really love about the community. In terms of challenges, we've heard from many different people that the village doesn't have a municipal sewer system and that constrain both residential and commercial growth, and that getting the system would be incredibly expensive. So we need to figure out how we can address that challenge. It's related to that, infrastructure maintenance can be an issue. The village is in the black. They're not running a deficit on things, but without having a large commercial or industrial tax base, it can be hard to finance things further down the road. Also, future demographic shifts. A lot of communities like Burlington are seeing residents age, And that means that it's important for the village to try to retain those residents and retain some of the younger residents who will be important to ensuring the community remains a vibrant and attractive place to live further down the road. So this slide speaks to some of the emerging questions that we've had. This is not it. This is not complete. This is just to let you know a sense of where we're headed with the plan right now at the very beginning. So we've heard, people want to know what future development in the village will look like. That's pretty typical of comprehensive plans. We've also heard that it's important to figure out how Burlington can retain and enhance the small town feel while adapting to new conditions. And finally, how can the village finance a municipal sewer system? And related to that, how can the community continue to progress with or without that system? Because it might not be here in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, but the residents will still be here and they will still have challenges that need to be addressed. So we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket. We want to explore how we can address these very important issues regardless. If there are any other questions that you think are super important for us to address, please drop those in the comments and we'll read those out when we get to the discussion section shortly. So getting involved, that's what we're here to talk about, to let you know how you can become involved with this plan. Excuse me. So interviews, I've mentioned interviews a few times. If you're interested in talking to us about the project, I would love to talk to you. If you have friends or neighbors who are also interested in talking to me, bring them along. We can have a Zoom conversation. We can set up a conference call. We can do it however you want. I would love to talk to you. We have an engagement page, which I'll talk about in a moment. And then also the steering committee. Again, you'll get an email to nominate people to be on that committee after this session. Along with being able to nominate someone, you'll be asked if you want to sign up for an email listserv. I'm going to be releasing emails periodically, probably bi-monthly, to just provide updates about the project, to let you know we're still working and how things are moving forward and how you can be engaged with the process. We'll be having in-person meetings eventually. Those aren't on the calendar yet, but again, this work has to be done in person at some level. And then special events. We would love to come to the community, to come to the fall festival. We'd love to come to the fireworks. I don't know if it'll work this year, but there are many things in town that we would love to be there and come meet people where they are. So finally, I want to go back to this engagement page because that's one of the most exciting ways that you can become involved. In a moment, Stephen will drop a link into the chat so you can go and access the page. But first, I want to walk you through what you can do because there are a lot of resources. The right side of the screen is showing what the page looks like when you go there. And the first thing that you'll see is this box at the top right. And that has a lot of resources that can be helpful for background information. You can look at the village's existing comprehensive plan, the zoning map, some economic development studies, and reports from other agencies that are relevant. But the real place where you're going to engage with this project is this box on the bottom. That has a number of tools that allow you to give feedback to us to make sure that we are doing what you're interested in us doing. So you'll notice there are a few different headers here. Each of these tabs has a different tool that you engage in the process in a different way. The first one is Ideas Board. And when you click on that, you'll see a list of these questions. And right now it's blank because the page hasn't been used. Excuse me. But we're interested in getting your feedback. This is essentially like a question board where you stick a Post-it note. You'll click on the box and you'll respond to our question and it'll make a virtual Post-it note. You can like other people's notes. People can see what you've written so that they can know how their neighbors are feeling about things. And it's just a very simple, quick way to answer questions. The second tab says surveys. And right now we've posted just one. We'll post more in the future. But our first survey is about priorities and concerns. It takes about 10 minutes to complete, and it's a very basic way of you letting us know what's important to you. What do you think that we need to look at? And how do you feel about various things in the village? What are some issues that we might need to address? Some questions are multiple choice, some are short answer, some are ranking. The third tab is a little more creative, a little more flexible, and this one will change in the future. It's a mapping tool. And what you can do is grab one of these 4 pins on the side, drop a note onto a part of the village and let us know what you feel. This is really cool because it lets you answer questions that we haven't thought to ask yet. So you can identify a strength or a challenge or an opportunity, or just let us know. Is there an intersection that is really great and that you love it and it feels like the center of town? That's good to know. Is there a place that floods sometimes or a place that you think would be great to turn into a park or something else? This is another chance for you to do that. You can really get creative with what you do here. The final tab is one that I'm particularly excited for, and that's a community forum. This is a place where we can ask questions and you can respond and we can respond to you. It functions a bit like a comment section of a Facebook post or something else. But there's a chance for us to provide articles or let you know things that we're thinking about, and you can respond and let us know how you feel. In the future, we might also decide to have a standing office hours sort of session where we'll say from 6 to 7 on Wednesdays, we'll be here to answer any questions that you can have. This is a new tool for us, so we're still figuring out how to use it, but there's a lot of flexibility and we're really excited about it. So after this session, I really encourage you to please go there and play around with it, answer some of the surveys, let us know how you feel. Stephen, I'm going to ask that you go ahead and drop that link into the chat so people can see it, and you can copy it into your browser, and you can bookmark it, because this is where we're going to share a lot of information, and the tools are going to change over time. One thing I should note is that to answer some of these things, you are going to have to create an account and sign in. I know that's a frustration. It's a small barrier, but it's a way for us to ensure that the people who are responding are actually people who live and work in Burlington, and it's not someone from Denver that found it in a Google result and wants to respond because it looks really fun. So it's a way to ensure that the results are accurate. All right, so that brings us to the discussion, which is great because I finally get to stop talking. So we're gonna start with just some text questions. I'm gonna ask Stephen if we have any questions in the chat. After that, we'll open it up for a little bit more of a phone call-like conversation. So Stephen, do we have any questions?
Not really, just some people had trouble being able to vote, or the one where there was, the last question 4, where there was multiple choice. At least one person could only vote for one thing. So, but no discussion questions really, or questions about the process.
Great. All right. Well, then we'll go to the next section where we are going to unmute everyone. You should be able to now click on that microphone button to mute or unmute yourself. Does anyone have any questions that they didn't type in the chat but they would like to ask?
It's a dog.
All right, well, hearing none immediately, we have some questions for you. This is an interactive session. We're trying to substitute this for the in-person session that we all love as planners, but we can't do that now, so we are going to instead try to get some answers from you. So this could be a little awkward, I'll admit it. It's a little strange for us too, but bear with us, and I think that we could definitely get a good conversation going. So my first question, very general, very basic. What do you like most about Burlington? What is it that you love about Burlington, or what do you really appreciate about town? It's important for us to know this because we need to make sure that those things are seen in the plan. All right. It looks like most people are still muted. Is anyone having trouble unmuting, or?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
This is Betty.
Hi, Betty.
Cool. Hi, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks for joining us.
It's interesting stuff.
Thanks. Do you want to weigh in on what you like most about Burlington?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a loaded question, but and I think most of you know that I don't really live in Burlington, but I work there, I spend my money there, and I worship there. So it's pretty important to me. And, what I like most about Burlington, and I think I explained this to somebody the other day, is I went to school there from 3rd grade on, and I use I've got a hyphenated last name, and nobody from Burlington calls me Betty Rocco. It's always Betty Ebert, with the exception of a few that didn't know me then. But I don't know if you've talked with Mary Lake or not, but she and I grew up next door to each other a way long time ago.
Got it. All right, anyone else want to weigh in on what they like most about Burlington? All right, well.
Jared, I was wondering if people if people could identify themselves. We can see this, but at least one person was curious about who's online on this meeting. Would that be possible to do?
Sure.
Okay.
Are you saying we should go through and ask people to say their names, or just as they're speaking?
I would say that, well, I just encourage people to participate in the conversation, and if you can identify yourself
Perfect.
first, but we don't want to put anybody on the spot.
Yeah, okay. Well, so our next discussion questions that I have here, maybe we'll have a little more luck here. So what would you change about Burlington, and what would you absolutely not change about Burlington? So we're planning for 20, 30 years down the road. So whether we want Burlington to be different or not, there are things that are going to change. So what are the things that we should really try to address, and which ones should we really make sure don't change? And those can be physical or, you know, more social, more communal. And if you're not comfortable talking, you are more than welcome to reply in the chat section, and we'll read it out loud. All right, well, I can move on to the next questions then. So my next two are, what would you like Burlington to look like in 25 years? And somewhat related to that, you know, what would make you proud of Burlington? What would you like to be, what do you brag about now, or what would you like to be able to brag about in the future when someone asks you about Burlington? There is no wrong answer. Anyone can weigh in. I know this is a really strange format, and that's okay.
Someone is saying, Greg, thank you. They're having trouble adding anything in chat, so I'm not sure the chat is exactly working the way it's supposed to. But we can't unmute. Thank you, Jeff. We're hearing that they can't unmute.
All right, let's try to fix this then. All right, does somebody want to try again?
I just unmuted again and I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you, yes. Jeff and let's see.
Oh, actually, I
Jeff,
can't see if you click individually. Most people are muted by an organizer. So I'm going to unmute some folks now, and you can either mute yourself or choose not to. Sorry about this, folks. I really appreciate your patience and sticking with it. It's a strange new world we're living in.
And if you're on phone audio, you'll have to unmute your phone. Thank you, Karen.
Okay, I think that worked.
It looks like people are coming on, so maybe we should go back and ask some of these questions again.
Yeah. All right, let's jump back. So now that people can hopefully respond, I'd love to hear, what do you like most about Burlington?
The small town vibe, I think, is good.
Okay. Thank you. All right, looks like I see Jeff's hand is up.
That was just us trying to get unmuted.
Got it.
Yeah. Sorry, there's so many little features of this software. It's hard to keep up. But that was who just spoke.
Okay.
So
wonderful.
Under the name.
All right. So we've heard the small town feel in Burlington is really great, and that kind of echoes what Betty said about people knowing each other and knowing them, knowing people by their first name and their first last name.
I think the park and events that they have right now are very good as well.
Which events would you like to mention? A few events in particular?
What's the car show one? The parade. The parade,
Mhm.
where they have the car show at the park. Bob, what is that one? It's usually.
That's Fall Fest. Fall Fest.
Yeah. There's one before Fall Fest. What's the parade? Do they do just one parade a year or more?
Yeah,
My
just
kid-
one.
my
It's
kids
at
are-
Fall Fest.
Oh, okay. All right. Perfect.
The
Yeah,
other
it's
major
fun.
event, would be fireworks.
Yes. And the street dance has been fun as well.
Yes, this would be the third year if we can do it
Right.
under the
right,
governor's restrictions.
Right.
We're hopeful.
Right. Yeah.
Great. All right, well, let's jump over to these next couple questions here. Let's go for round two. So what would you change about Burlington, and what would you absolutely not change about Burlington? So what are some things that can be fixed, and which are some things that aren't broken and really shouldn't be broken, don't need to be fixed? Are there any things that you can't do in town now that you would like to do, or would you like to change how you get around or how you talk to people, or really anything? The great thing about a comprehensive plan is that it's so general. We're at the beginning of the process, so we can still decide to change direction and address something we weren't planning to.
Well, I don't want to be the only one talking.
That's fair.
Come on, somebody else. One thing I would like to see is a little bit more residential coming in, some new homes to bring in some new young families. I think we own an older home in downtown Burlington, which is a beautiful home. But I think to get some of the younger families in there is important. The current housing situation in downtown, if you do get some young families in there, my feeling is they're not going to stay. It's more like a starter home type of thing, instead of a home where people can raise their family and stay. The school district is fantastic. Both of my kids went through the schools from kindergarten on. So the school district is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's one of the top ones in the state. Am I wrong on that? Or I'm sure you guys know better than I do.
I think it's in the top 10.
Yeah, I think so. So getting young families in as far as the school district goes should be fairly easy. Our kids started at the old Burlington grade school across from the fire station many, many years ago. So we went through the new high school and all that. So the school district is fantastic. I think it's important to get younger families in. We're of the older age group as well. So I understand that a lot of people that live in Burlington have lived there forever. And the houses are, as I said, we have an older home. We love it. But I think to get some younger families in with, some new housing would be good. What I would not like to change is the small town vibe and feeling and, all the local things that go on there.
Got it. Does anyone?
Can I rebut that?
Yeah.
And I like your idea. I appreciate the fact that we have to have young families, but we have to have housing that young families can afford. And we have to be conscientious of that if we're going to grow. Because if we build $400,000 or $500,000 homes, we're not going to get young families to come to Burlington. We have to have them moderately priced so they can afford to come to Burlington.
Very true. I agree.
Who am I speaking with, by the way?
The Ostick family.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's great. Thank you for being here, and thank you for participating. So do you think?
Yes. Do you recognize that name, Ostick?
I do.
Okay, I thought so.
I recognize your name, but I'm not sure if I would know you if we saw each other face to face.
Oh well, that's fine. We won't do that here.
No.
Great, but
No.
it is worth saying that that's one of the things that this project is trying to accomplish. So we're creating a plan, but one of the things we often say is that the process is part of the product. So just bringing people together to have these conversations and get people talking about their community's future, that's something that every community benefits from. So it's weird that we have to do it virtually right now. This isn't normal, but it is a long project and we will get to that point.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so how about these questions? What do you want Burlington to look like in 25 years? If, everything goes well, not tomorrow, not next year, further down the road, what kind of a community is Burlington? Either physically or socially.
Well, socially, I think I can't speak for anybody else, but socially, I think we'd like to have it pretty much the same as it is right now. And but and physically in 25 years, if you don't grow, you either get stuck or you fail to exist. So there's got to be some smart growth there somewhere. Not only with housing, but with industry and commercial and, that kind of thing.
Betty, can you specify a little bit what you're thinking of when you say smart growth?
Well, and when I had this conversation with Jared and the other fellows the other day, I would not want to see Burlington grow like Huntley, Lake in the Hills, Algonquin did, where it was just an ocean of homes all at once. I'm thinking, smaller subdivisions maybe, or moderate priced homes on larger lots. That's not my part. That's not my job. That's what I would like to see for Burlington. But I just think that it could eventually start to grow and grow very quickly, and I don't think that that's 100% smart.
Okay, one question that I have that I have a little bit of confusion about, and maybe you can help us, maybe you can't. We've lived here 30 some years. We don't live in town, and my daughter lives on French Road, which is, she's based, I don't know if she's in the Burlington, she lives, but right on French Road. But she has a Hampshire mailing address because of the post office. So if you want your mail delivered, you need to become have a Hampshire mailing address. I find that very confusing. Does anybody have any information or highlighting on that? I think we're the same. So we moved here 30 years ago. We had a Plato Center phone number back in the day. Our kids went to Burlington schools. We were Pingree Grove Fire District, and we were Hampshire mailing address. So when people ask me where we live, I actually live physically closer to Burlington. However, my mailing address is Hampshire. So I think that's one thing that might need to be addressed is the post office. What does it take to get mail delivery so that Burlington alone, I think, would grow and have more residents if they delivered mail? As simple as that. Am I all wet, or does that make sense?
No, we would all wish for that. And might I just add that it was only a few years ago that there were some post offices that would have closed. Burlington had been looked at that way, but fortunately for us, it is not. In the rooftops or the growth, it gives it the opportunity for the post office to provide more. Right now, we're sort of we're in a spot where, without any movement either way, at least we have our own post office and that potential. I own a PO box also. I do not get the mail delivered. So I don't know all the strategies to all that. I think that would unwind itself a little bit if we investigate it more, basically, because there's got to be a strategy to it from, who gets a PO box and what town gets a post office.
Right.
In the growth part. Go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, Bob, go ahead.
The smart growth is a great way to say it. Smart growth and looking at Burlington and its future. We have an undeniably one of the coolest characters around. It draws people to recognize us, and we've maintained that, and we still can maintain that with what we call that smart growth. So determining where you're putting neighborhoods and the opportunity to grow large neighborhoods in a hurry, it's not the same as it was, 15 years ago. However, there are developments that are done differently, and the intent of how that gets done. Our bigger hindrance would be the affordable homes and subdivisions fall under more of a category of yard size, if it's a half acre or an acre. But to build a development, you have to have X amount of houses and densities to afford the roads, the main streets, the infrastructure, and so forth. The sewer treatment plant is would be a huge asset to the village, and its growth would bring all types of development. In how I see the comprehensive plan, because of the future for the village, and you can call it the 25 years, and you could look back 25 years from now, you might see that the planning of the subdivisions, the industry, and how we get around to the village with a little more affordable housing, the right size, bringing in those families, and then it brings other opportunities for the businesses or the places that we would go. Granted, we're very thrilled with the Burlington Grill, for Mott's, for Art and Elma's. We have a gas station, the opportunity for a breakfast shop down at the other end of town. That's just development time and timing on that. But all of those pieces grow, which make that main town part or the center of town more friendly for every resident. And I think that a lot of people walk around town and enjoy that atmosphere. The smart growth part is how do we place all those pieces, and that's what this really helps us determine, because who knows in 5, 10, 25 years who will be still, will you enjoy what you were on at this time? And Betty's correct. Stagnant. You have to do something because otherwise, you just disappear, or you become some other. And you really become, we have our own right now, because we can, as a village, we can smart grow that into carrying all the pieces that we would like to to make us a great place to live. So all that being said, this plan helps us do that, and we would like to have everybody's input to help that.
All right, so we've got, yes.
Oh, we got one comment that someone did submit by chat. They say Burlington needs a larger population that will support a delivery type post office. With our current population, we do not rate other than a P.O. box post office, and the nearest delivery post office is Hampshire, hence the Hampshire mailing address if you want delivery. So I just wanted to make sure that was heard.
Yeah, that's a great contribution. Thank you.
Good answer.
All right, so we have just a few more minutes here. I'm happy to stick around after 7:30. We won't get booted off the platform, but I do want to try to wrap up a little bit in case people do want to drop off. So let's see what my other questions here. So this is a question that I'm really curious to know. How would you like to engage in this process? So one of the great things about comprehensive plans is that there's no one way to do it. We can talk to people wherever they are, however they are. So I'd be really curious to know what the best way is for us to talk to people. Obviously, we're a little constrained right now. That's why we're doing this, weird, clunky thing. But how can we talk to you? Would you be interested in doing more surveys online? Is it just a matter of, hanging out at the post office or, staking out Mott's or something like that? How can we best talk to people?
Can I interject?
Of course.
I love the fact that we can do this, but I really feel like there is no replacement for social gatherings or, being face to face. It's wonderful we have this technology, but it's not like you can reach out and shake somebody's hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
So, you know, I'd like to see a community meeting, or when we can, when the governor says it's okay.
Yeah, so we will definitely be doing a community meeting. If it came down to it and we weren't clear to do a meeting and the plan was coming to an end, I can't speak on behalf of the people who, on top of my boss who tells me what to do, but I would imagine that we would try to put things on pause and wait to see how things go, because it's important that if we're investing the time to do this, that we do it right. So that means we will see you in person, both for some of the formal workshops where we put the maps on the wall and we talk about different ideas. And then also we'll do some sort of informal workshops as well, whether that means setting up a table at the fall festival or going to the street dance or whatever it is. We really do think it's important to meet people where they are. And
for all of
no, please.
participants that are on tonight, the Fall Fest is on as far as we know. No one has told us we could not do it yet. So plan on the Fall Fest in September.
Yeah, stay positive. Let's do that.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to make public statements while they're here, I think that's perfectly appropriate. We want to be an asset for the community. So if part of what we can do is just bring people together to talk about things, that's a good thing in my book. But one of the final reasons that I asked this question is because I'm going to ask all of you to please be advocates for the project. This is only going to work if everyone is involved and people are engaged. So, talk about it to your neighbors. Share this video when we release the video. Share it with your friends. Share it with your neighbors, your coworkers. And please, that engagement page, I'm going to ask you to please go there, fill it out, let us know what you think, and stay tuned because it'll change. The questions we ask are going to change. As we learn more, we'll start to come up with some strategies, and we want to hear what you think. Please help us. And with that, that's all that I have. This is my email address. Please reach out to me if you want to talk. Let me know. Let Bob know. He'll pass on your information. I'd love to find a time to talk, email, phone. I can text, whatever it is. I'm happy to hear from you. So there's that link one more time. And I can stick around if people want to stick around. Otherwise, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jared. Thank you.
All right, well, if people are heading out, then I can go ahead and end this. So thanks for your help, Bob, and thanks everyone. You have a great night.
Yeah, thanks guys. Yeah, we'll talk to you. All right, bye-bye.
All right, take care.
You too.
Was that John Miller in the band? Who said thank you?